Hi folks, how are you all doing today? I'm back with a brand new video again. So we were discussing about blocks in this series, right? So we have been discussing about few categories in our toolbox. We have discussed UI controls, we have discussed turtle blocks, then we have discussed math, then we have discussed control. Today we're going to discuss about functions. This is one of the very important categories and also it is very much useful for us, right? So let me just define what is functions and then how can we use these blocks. I'll show you a very small example today how you can use functions to get your task done, right? What is a function and all of this, right? And apart from this, if you have not watched my previous videos, please do go back to my channel, Folks Hub. Open the playlist Applab, okay, and do watch each and every video in sequence so that you will understand how exactly Applab works, right? So we are discussing everything in detail, very much detail, right? So you will be understanding each and everything, nitty gritty of CodeStudio, we can say. Okay. So to understand each and every single part of CodeStudio App Lab, you have to watch the series completely, right? So watch it right from the beginning, and yes, so you will be getting all the information of Applab in this series, right? We have been doing quite a few videos now, right? So do watch all of them and then. So coming to our today's section, which is functions, right? So let's discuss what is function, right? What is a function? So now we know why do we write code. So to give instructions to your computer, you will be writing code, correct? So using those instructions, using some programming language, you will be writing those instructions, right? So those instructions are given for your computer to do a app or a game or any website or so on like that, right? So if you're using Applab, that means you're creating apps, web apps we can say in specific, right? So you're creating a web app using Applab. That means for that reason you're writing instructions using Blockly language or so these blocks are based out of JavaScript in CodeStudio. Okay, so you're writing JavaScript. Okay, so that means you're writing JavaScript instructions to do something. That is what coding is all about, right? And so, whenever you want to instruct your computer by saying that you have to do a task, okay, that means you're assigning a task to your computer, right? Then you will be using a function, okay? So, function is nothing but it is something where a task can be done, a task can be performed by it, right? So you can write a function one time, right? And you can use it multiple number of times, okay? Write once, use multiple times principle, function follows, okay? So a function will follow write once and use multiple times, right? Almost infinite number of times you can use this, okay? So let me just grab a function first. This is a function, okay? So there's like a syntax for writing a function too, okay? So function, then you have to write name of the function. After that you have to open parenthesis like this, right? So we call rounded brackets or parentheses, you can call it anyway. And then you'll have curly braces. Within the curly braces you will have to write everything whatever is related to the function, okay? So let's just take a small example for understanding function better. So let's suppose I want to add two numbers. Okay, to add two numbers, we are writing a function now. Okay, so how do we go about writing that? Let's see and understand that. Okay, so I will write the name of the function over here as add. Okay, and then here inside this function add, I want to add two numbers, right? So what I will do, I'll just grab return function. Okay, so return is a predefined function which will return some values, right? Okay, so I'm writing 2 plus 3. Very simple, just 2 plus 3. Okay, let's call this function. So this is called as defining a function. You're defining a function over here, right? So which function are you defining? You're defining add function, okay, which has a written block, which is written block is nothing but to return some value from the function. So functions are like you can absolutely return some value from the function, right? You can write some other things also, and you can return any other thing whichever you want to return from your function. It's not like it only performs the task and it keeps it for itself, right? So it can give you some output also. Okay, so let's just check the output of this function by calling it. Okay, so then what do I mean by calling a function? So I told that this is defining a function. So calling a function is nothing but using that function, right, wherever you want. So I will just call this function right just below that. Okay, you can do this, no problem, right? So I'm just writing add. That's it. Okay. So now let's just click on run and check what happens. Okay. Let's see. So let me tell you what exactly is happening over here, right? So we just told return 2 plus 3. Actually, it is returning the value, right? But the thing is, we've not displayed it anywhere, right? So we are not giving any such instruction to display that thing, right? Let's do a small thing, a small change in this, because this is not like a general syntax thing, right? Um, so let's do this. I'm just grabbing that out. Let's go to variables. You don't know about this function, this one, okay? So it is console.log to print any message on console, right? Or any result on console. You can absolutely use this one, okay? So now I don't really want to print message. I want to print 2 plus 3 value, right? So let's check this now, okay? So I've called add function. Now on the console, we have to see the output. Let's check. You can see, I hope you should be able to see this one. So here 5 is written, right? So the 5 is shown as the output in the console screen. That just means that it is absolutely doing the addition for us, right? So this is how function works, right? You can call this add function anywhere, wherever you want, and any number of times. Okay, so this was very simple. Adding thing doesn't really need a function to do that, right? But while you're writing some complex logics, okay, then you would be needing these type of functions for that, right? So function, let me again just summarize it for you. What is a function? So a function is something when you want to give a task for your computer, then you will be writing a function. Okay, this is like in a layman term I'm telling you, right? So function means it's basically like if you want to complete a task, right? If you want to do some task, you will be writing all the instructions related to that task inside the function. Okay, this is how you say it, right? And then so functions are reusable, first thing, right? So what do I mean by reusable? Because you're just writing this function once, okay? So the complete code which is related to add task will be inside this function only, right? So and you're calling this function, just you're calling it wherever you need it, okay? So you can call add so multiple number of times. Let's suppose you want to call it 100 times, you can absolutely do that, not at all an issue. You can call this function in a loop. You can call this function in a conditional statement. You can call it in any block possible. Okay. So this is how it is. And then functions are reusable. This is the first thing. And next thing is functions are, are used to make your code readable. Okay. So what do I mean by readable here? So readable is nothing but making your code neat. Okay, so it just doesn't have all the messy logics in the same flow, in the program flow, if you're writing all these kind of messy logics, what happens whenever some other user is trying to see or access your code? So he would not really understand what exactly you're trying to do, right? In the flow, if you're writing a very big program, in that complete flow, if you're writing very complex logic which is not really understandable to the layman or a user, whoever is using, right? So that would really affect his readability, correct? So that is readability. Okay, so while you're reading the code, it should look more appealing, correct? So if he sees function and just the name function and, that's enough for the user to understand this function is actually used for adding something. So he will be getting to understand that. He doesn't need to know the logic which you're using, correct? So he's not bothered about it at all, right? So that's the reason we say functions are used to make your code readable. Okay, and the third thing is, you need not really place your function in the same sequence. Okay, so you can place your function anywhere. Let's suppose you have 1,000 lines of code, right? You're writing a main program, and in main program you have 1,000 lines of code. So and you have around 5 functions which you are using, right? So you need not put these 5 functions within those 1,000 lines. Okay, so you can write it outside that program also, no issues, right? You can put it at the end. Always a good programming practice is like this, where you will be writing or you will be using the functions at the end of the program. Okay, so you will put them at the end, and you can call them anywhere, right? So wherever you are writing, that doesn't really matter. Cursor knows, that means your computer knows. So when you are calling this function, where it has to go and check that function for, right? So it already knows wherever the function keyword is used and the name is written, it just directly goes there, right? If even if it is in the beginning or even if it is in the end, that doesn't matter, right? So this is another thing, this is another use. And so you can call it multiple times. This is one of the very important uses of function, right? Because you can call multiple number of times. You need not repeat the same logic again and again for multiple numbers, correct? So you are just writing one add function, use it 100 times, 1,000 times, multiple times. Okay, so no issues, right? And so again, there are a few types of functions, right? So there are multiple types of functions. Let's see that also. The first type of function is user defined function, or we say customized function. Okay, so what do I mean by user defined or customized function? I will let you know. So first one is user defined function, right? User defined function, right? And second one is predefined function. Okay, so predefined function. And there will be other functions like, let's suppose we can just categorize it into the third section. So those are event driven functions. Okay, so event driven functions, events, right? Let's understand about each category, right? First thing is user defined function, the function which we wrote over here, right? This one. So this is a user defined function or a customizable function or a customized function. Okay, so I am writing this one, right? So there are no restrictions how to write this function because I am doing it. Okay, I can have my own rules. Whatever I want, I can do that in this function. So we are defining it according to our need and requirement. Okay, so my requirement was I only had to display this console.log statement in this function, so I only did this. Maybe some other user have some other requirements. Based on that, he would be writing his own function. Okay, so this is how user defined function is written. Okay, user will define the name of the function, user will define whatever should be inside the function. Okay, and user will call it anywhere wherever he needs it. Okay, so this is user defined function. Now then second thing, predefined function. So what about this predefined function? Predefined function is something like which are already defined in the language. which are set by someone else. You're directly using the name of the function here to just go about it, right? So to use it, okay? So for example, we have used many functions so far, I think, right? So yeah, yeah. Let me tell you about this one. Wait a second. Okay. So let's go to okay, here is also the another example here. Log is a function. It's a predefined function to log something on the console, right? So this is a predefined function which you're directly using, right? Okay, and in maths, we have multiple functions here, right? All these functions are predefined functions. I told you in the previous session that these functions are defined in math class. Okay, math class, right? So inside this math class you have a round function. We'll discuss about classes in our later sections, right? But yes, a round is a predefined function which is already defined. We are directly calling this function here to use it, right? So how am I calling the function here? I'm just using the name of the function with parenthesis after that, right? Same thing is happening here, is it not? Name of the function round and parenthesis after that. So that means, so wherever you see some name of the function and parenthesis beside that, that means you can just simply say that those are functions, okay? Either they can be predefined function, either they can be event driven functions, or either they can be user defined functions, okay? But yes, they are functions basically. So now, round is a predefined function. ABS, that means absolute, is a predefined function. Max, min, random, POW, SQRT, all are predefined functions only. Okay. So in turtle, we have so many predefined functions. All these are predefined functions only, right? So for moving forward, we are not writing manually. We are not writing any code manually, right? So move forward is just the instruction we are using. Behind this, there is some code which is working upon, right? We don't know about the code, but we are just directly using it. Okay. So this is how predefined functions look like, right? Move forward, move backward, move to, dot, turn right, turn left, all of this here, all of the blocks which are present in turtle are predefined functions itself, right? So you can see here. And then so even in control, we have few predefined functions saying get time, set timeout, clear timeout, timed loop, right? And stop timed loop. So all these are functions, okay? And then we have used UI controls, right? So even in UI controls, text label, text input, drop down, all these are predefined functions only, right? But let me tell you again. So these are parameterized functions, okay? So what do I mean by parameterized functions again? So in user defined function, right? And even in predefined functions also, right? You will have few parameterized functions and few non-parameterized functions, okay? So parameterized and non-parameterized, what is this, right? So let me just again give you an example. Let's take the same example, add thing, but let's add few parameters into it, okay? I'm just taking the second block. So first function is non-parameterized. You're not passing any parameters into this, right? You're just writing the function and you're calling it directly. That's it. You need not pass any values into this to see the output or to fetch the output, right? But unlike this, you have something written over here like n, correct? So here n is a parameter, okay? So whenever I will tell, okay, this is first parameter over here. And likewise, we can have multiple number of parameters, okay? That's absolutely again according to the need and the requirement, right? So let's write add, okay, add is a function. And I want to manually, input something, right? So I don't want some predefined numbers to be passed, right? While I'm calling the function, I want to manually give the values, okay? So let's see how to do that. In the previous function we wrote, there is no choice for the user to give his own values, right? Only 2 plus 3 would be coming. How many ever times you call it, only 2 plus 3, 5 would be the value, right? But unlike that, let's pass two parameters, right? So if you just click on this one, you're getting the second parameter also. Okay. So first I will write n1. N1 I mean to say number one. Okay. N2 number two. Because to add, we need two numbers at least, right? So I'm writing n1 and n2. And then now I want to add these two numbers. So, and I want to display that on console. Okay. So I'm just taking the same console.log statement here. Okay. And then what I will do, I will not write numbers over here. Instead, I will write these parameters over here. Okay. N1 plus N2 should be the output. Okay. On the console. Now what I will do, I'll just go to functions and I'll take this one. This is calling a function block. This is non-parameterized call. Like you can see, calls a named function that takes no parameters. Okay. And then I'm taking this one. I'm just calling add function here. And then I'll just click upon this arrow to get another parameter, right? Instead of n, now we have to pass numbers. Now, whatever you're passing here, these are called as arguments, right? So you have to pass arguments into your function. So let's suppose I will be passing 10 comma 20. Okay, 20, right? So 10 is the first argument and 20 is the second argument, right? So while you're calling the function, these two numbers which are passed here are called as arguments. And whenever you're writing it here, right? So these are called as parameters. Okay. That's how we say this is parameterized function with two arguments being passed in it. Okay. So these are two parameters. These are two arguments. Okay. So you have to remember this, and like this is getting more technical now. That's it. Okay. Nothing to worry. Then if you are not able to remember that, just remember that this is a parameterized function where we are passing two things, two numbers in it. That's it. Okay. So let's reset and run it again. You can see the value is given us 30, right? Yes, 10 plus 20 is 30, right? So that's why you're getting the same output. Okay. I hope now you are understanding what exactly is a parameterized function, right? So this was a non-parameterized function where user can't pass any values into it, right? And the second one is a function with parameters in it, right? And it's not limited to only two numbers. You can add multiple parameters. Okay. So you can see third one, fourth one, and so on, right? How many ever numbers you want, those many numbers you can absolutely pass, right? Not only numbers, you can pass strings, you can pass variables, right? Anything, like according to the need. Okay. And yeah, and this is how you call it. So here you are, let's suppose you're passing four parameters, right? Then absolutely while calling the function you have to pass four arguments, right? So that's mandatory because you have given the four parameters here, right? And if you're missing something, definitely computer would get confused by that, right? So that's why while calling the function, you have to make sure you're passing all the parameters, and whatever in whatever sequence you are writing here, in the same sequence they are taken over here. Okay. So let's suppose I say this is n1, n2, next one is n3, and next one is n4. Okay. Now here if I'm writing 10, 20, so here I will write 30 and next I will write 40. That means N1 will be taken up by 10, right? So 20 is taken up by N2, 30 is taken up by N3, 40 is taken up by N4. Okay. So this is how it is, right? In whichever sequence you pass, in the same sequence they are taken up, right? And yeah, we discussed about this return function also. Return will just return values, right? So it can return any output which is coming from the function, right? So return will be the last statement in any function to return the value. Okay. So be it a formula you want to return, be it a number you want to return, be it a string you want to return, You can absolutely do that using this return statement. Okay, I'm sorry to call this return as a function. Instead, it is a statement, basically return statement, right? And then, so one last thing which is present here is comment block. Okay, so a comment is a block where this is used for documentation, basically, right? Now I'm writing a hundred lines of code, let's suppose, and I want my program to be read by some other person. Okay, I'm sending this to some other person, right? So now he has to read my program, and this should be very much readable and understandable, right? So what do I mean? Whatever I write, I know because I am writing the program. How would the other person know about this same thing, right? So if he has to understand that, then I have to write few lines which should be like a documentation for him, correct? So those documentation lines are written in these comments. Okay, we call these as comment lines, right? So let's suppose I'll just place this comment on the first line, and I will write, this is a parameterized function with four parameters in it to add, right? So this is how the user will get to understand what exactly is happening, right? Is it not? So if he sees this thing, and then he'll get into the function, he'll see the function. Okay, yes, so there are four parameters, and the same thing is written over here. So this is very simple to understand. You can absolutely understand this, but not really all functions and all variables are understood by the other users, right? Other programmers, right? So that's how we use this comment line. Okay, and whatever the line which has two forward slashes behind it, right? So that will be called as a comment, and those comment lines are not read by the computer. Okay, they are not compiled, they are not executed, they are completely ignored by the computer. Okay, so this is all about the functions category. I hope this was very much clear and informative for you all, right? So if you have any questions, you can absolutely comment in the comment section below, right? So that would be executed, right? Unlike these comment lines here, these are not executed by the computer, these are completely ignored by the computer. But that is not the case with your comments which you're doing in the, I mean, below the video, right? Those are not ignored. I would completely read all of them and I would definitely reply you back, right? So yes, and yeah, so do watch all my videos in a sequence for you to understand everything, right? So all the nitty-gritties of Applab we are discussing in this series. So I will be meeting you with another brand new video in the same series, right? So until then, you have to keep watching all the other videos and keep updated, stay updated. Happy learning, enjoy coding. Thank you so much. Bye bye, and have a great day, all.